Hello, and welcome to today's form building webinar. My name is Nick, and today we'll be talking about how to build out a demographic section in a form. We will be working off of an existing packet, and just as a reminder, if you do have any questions as we go along, please hold on to those questions. I will be opening up that chat towards the end of the webinar, and I'll be happy to answer any of those questions or go back over any information if necessary. All right. So to get to our forms, we're going to go ahead and click on our My Forms tab. That's going to take us to the My Forms page where all of the packets will exist in your account. We'll be working off of this FormDr training at the bottom. So to get into this packet, we're going to click the three dots on the right side of the page and click that Edit Forms button. That's going to take us into step one of our builder, which will give us an opportunity to add or remove tabs or forms to this packet. And just to go through your options really quickly, we'll be able to update the tab titles here as well. We'll keep this as demographics. We do have one tab in here right now, which is our demographics form. We can click next to build to go ahead and take a look at that. And it's just going to be a blank area for us to build out. It will come with that patient name widget by default. This is a scratch tab, which we have used. And again, that will just be a blank form for you to build out a custom form with a patient name widget by default. And that's simply because that patient name widget is going to be needed at least once in each packet, because the name that's entered into that widget is going to be what that submission is logged under on the send and receive page. Your second option to add forms is going to be the template option. This will allow you to select through one of our pre-made templates, and then we even offer some packets in here as well. So if you chose to use one of the template packets, you would receive all of the tabs within that packet. Import form will allow you to import a duplicate copy of a form that already exists in another packet in your account. And of course, convert file. For all of our Pro Plan and Higher accounts, this option will be available. This will allow you to upload a document to have built by our team. All right, we'll just be working off of our Scratch tab today. So we're just going to go ahead and click that Next to Build button down at the bottom right. And that will take us into step two, which is our builder. And we can start to build out our form. So we will use our patient name widget since we will need to, and we're going to go ahead and add a date of birth as well. And to add widgets or elements onto the form area, we can do so by clicking one of the elements on the left sidebar or clicking and dragging them to a specific position. You will notice that each one that we've added is just going to display vertically on top of each other, taking up the entire area of that form area. So if we want them to format differently in terms of having multiple elements per row, what we can do is go ahead and use our formatting tools down here at the bottom, and we're going to use the column widget. This is going to be your bread and butter in terms of formatting your forms. And all you'll need to do is place that column widget down, and then you're just going to click and drag the other widgets that you would like to place into it. So we'll start off just with the patient name and our date widget. We can click and drag that up into our column, let go, and then same with the date. We'll put that right underneath the patient name so that it displays on the right. And now we have two elements per row here. If you do need to update the information, say the title of this date widget, we want this to be date of birth instead. All you're going to need to do is hover over that widget, click that orange pencil icon that pops up for you, and then from here we can update the title or any of the information for that widget. So we can change this to date of birth. And just as a reminder as well, when using a date widget, it will always have that today default toggle enabled by default. So if you are asking for a previous date, it is important to untoggle that option so that it doesn't automatically fill with today's date. And since we're asking for date of birth, we will want to ensure that we don't have that on so that this field will be sure to be filled out. All right. And then from here, we can add as many more elements to our column widget as we like. I personally like to separate the sections out into different column widgets for each group of information, just because it's a little bit easier to format all of that information, especially if you're going to be formatting certain parts of it differently. And so For the next part, we'll be asking general demographic information, social security number, address, phone number, all of that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and place another column widget down, and we're going to drag our text field up into that column. And so our first row will ask for social security number, and then I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this element twice. So we have another couple of text fields that populate, and then we can change the title for this one. So SSN. With the text field widget, you will also have the ability to change the format style. So for this one specifically, we can click that format dropdown and select SSN. This will automatically populate with placeholder information or a placeholder for you on the actual form, and it will also force the patient to enter a specific amount of digits. So we'll keep that one there. We can click, and once we have the element set to where we like with our title updated and our placeholder information, if we want to add that, we can go ahead and click either that icon again to close it up, or you can click the done button down at the bottom. Either one of those will close that up and store the information that you've updated. And we'll go ahead and change the other two as well. We'll change this one to phone number. And again, we can select that format dropdown, select phone number, and now it will require the patient to enter a specific amount of digits. And finally, our last text field, we'll do email. And same for this, we can go ahead and select that email option, which will force the patient to enter a valid email address structure. So they'll need an @ something. Okay, so we can go ahead and click that done. And now we have our second area filled out. We can go ahead and add another couple of elements to this as well. Maybe we'll ask for sex or gender, and then marital status. And for these, we'll use a single select option and a drop down. Both of these will function exactly the same. They'll only allow the patient to select one option. However, both will also allow for any conditional information if you want extra questions to be asked if the patient selects a certain answer. But you will notice that when we have the column with less elements than are at the maximum limit for that column setting. So right now, I have this set to 3 wide, and that's going to be the default setting for the columns. So we have this set to 3 wide. We can open up that column, and we can see that the column is set to 3. If we wanted to put all of these on one row, we could select the 5 option, and we would have all of these items displayed for us on that same row. Depending on how long the question titles are, you may want to split that up. And so we could go with 3 wide. Let's go ahead and flesh these out first. Male, female. And so basically what I'm doing here is I've updated the title to be our sex question. I've updated the answer selections to be male, female, and I've also added a third option that we will use for other. And to expand on this, we're going to click and drag a text field element into that open area underneath the other option, and that's going to be our conditional information. If the patient selects the other option, then we can have another question that says specify or collect that extra bit of information. All right, and then similarly for our drop down, we'll change this to marital status. Right. And so we've got these set up. Now, if we want these last 2 elements to align in the same format as the 3 that we have set on the top row, all we're going to need to do is fill this extra space with another element. So the way the column will work is that on the final row, it will format to as many elements are within it up to that maximum amount. So we have it set to 3, however, we only have 2, so each one is going to take up 50% of that area. And to take up that extra or that last space here, that 6th space in this this column group, all we're going to need to do is use the group widget. Now the group widget I'll place here at the bottom. It's going to look a lot like that column widget. However, it will not format any information. If we were to put a few text fields in here, for instance, they would just stack on top of one another. So it will not format for you. You can place a column widget within the group if you would like to format that information. However, the group is just going to be a formatting tool for you while you're building the form. It will not really have any effect on how your patient interacts with the form. It's just simply to allow you to move large groups of information as a single unit in between tabs or up or down in the form. However, I find that its best use is actually as a spacer in the column. So what we can do is we can just go ahead and click and drag that up into that final space of our column. And now what we'll have is that group taking up that final bit of area here, forcing the other two elements to format in the same way as the rest of the column. So now we can keep that information kind of a little bit tighter as a whole. And we can always go to the style page if we click next to style. And that's going to give us a live preview of the form. So if you have any required information and you click past it, you will be notified with that tag. Or if you have any conditional information, you can also test that here as well. But you can see that this last space is being taken up. However, the patient will not be able to do anything with that, as that will just be a formatting element for you to use. All right. And next up, we could ask for the patient's address, and there's a couple different ways we could do this. We could either add another column with 4 or 5 text fields in it, or we could just use a single text field and add a couple of extra inputs. So maybe this is address, city, state, and zip. And from here, we can have this element required if we wanted, and it would require them to enter all 4 fields of this element for them to continue. And just as a reminder, to require any bit of information, all you're going to need to do is hover over that element, click that nearest orange pencil icon that pops up, and then you'll just need to toggle on that required option, and that will force them to fill that out before they're allowed to submit the form. All right. And so this is basically how you'll build out a demographics form. Just a continuation of using those columns whenever you want to start a new bit of information. Again, say for instance, we would like to add some questions regarding emergency contacts or something like that. We could add another couple of text fields. And as you can probably tell by now, the column and the text field are going to be your 2 most used widgets. And they are very good at collecting information and formatting that information. Emergency contact. We can have the same name. Phone number. And we'll remember to select that phone number option for that text field. And we'll ask for the relationship. And there we go. We have our emergency contact section. We can also require any of these as well. And again, we could also just use that first one with an emergency contact and add a couple of extra inputs if we wanted to ask for the phone number and the relationship here as well. So if you wanted to just kind of mirror that styling for the address, you could do this as well if you wanted to keep all of this information as a single element. And again, we could just require that one element to collect all 3 of these items. Otherwise, we could just go in and update the requirement to each one of these as well if we did need to collect that information, and then remove those extra inputs and place our emergency contact back into our column. Oop. There we go. And we have a nice little demographic section for our intake form. If you did want to add a title, you could always just use that title widget, and then we could have this say patient information. And now everything's looking nice. We can go to our style page again to get a live preview of how our patient is going to see that form. And again, our required tags will pop up because this is a live version or a live preview of that form. All right, and I am going to go ahead and open up that chat in case we do have any questions today. I know we are running a little bit close to the end here. And as we wait for those to come through, we'll just talk a little bit about updating the styling and then publishing this form. On the style page, it is a live preview of the form, which I like to use it for. However, you'll also be able to update the logo file with any image here. It'll be your second option on this left sidebar on the style page. You'll also be able to update that background color. If you do know that specific hex key that you'll be using for your styling, you can enter that information right here, or you can just use the color picker to slide around and find something that looks good with the image that you've uploaded. And then once we have this set, we can either update any of the other stylings, such as the color of the selection options or anything like that. And once that's all ready and you like where that's set, you'll just need to click Next to Publish. Just one note before we move on from this page, if you do have multiple packets in your account and you've spent some time styling one of those packets, you won't need to update the styling for each of those other packets. All you'll need to do is select the style from that packet. So this will be available for all accounts as soon as they have a second packet added. However, you will be able to just pull the styling over from any of those other packets and it will bring everything that's set. So, again, we could, just as a demonstration, we could set this to be a yellow. And then if we were to use our select style, import that registration packet styling, it'll bring over the logo, any styling options that have been set. So you'll only need to set those styling options for one of those packets, and then you can just reuse that style for each subsequent packet. All right, and then once this is set to where you like, we can go ahead and click Next to Publish. It does say published. However, we have one more step to go before that form is live. This will give you one last opportunity to update the title of the packet, which you can do at the top here. And again, if you need to get back into this area, all you'll need to do is click those three dots and then edit name. We can update the title here, or you can collect any of the other extra information from this packet as well. But once you're ready, you can either click the My Account button at the bottom right, or that Finish Building Back to My Account button right underneath this list. Either one will take you back to the Send and Receive page, and at this point, you'll know that those changes have been saved and published. So we can go back to our My Forms page, click on our public link of the form, and we could be taken to a live version of that form. We have our demographics section that we built out here, and if we were to fill this out, then we would have a brand new submission populated in our Send and Receive page. All right, it does not look like we have any questions today, so that will do it for today's webinar on demographics section. As a reminder, we do host these webinars every Tuesday and Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time for the form building webinars. The beginner webinar will be Tuesdays, the advanced on Thursdays. However, the beginner webinar is not a prerequisite to join the advanced. We do encourage everybody to join us as often as they like. And if you do have any staff members that you would like to learn this information as well, please feel free to have them join also. If you would like to keep up with the schedule for the form building webinars for the month of February, you can go to the My Account section, Support, Search Guide, and FormDr Updates. Right here we have the February 2023 webinar schedule, and when you're clicking on this link, this will tell you what we will be talking about in all of our webinars. We also host onboarding webinars every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Those will be held at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. However, if you scroll to the bottom of this page, you can see the schedule for the form building webinars in terms of what we will be talking about for that day. So again, to get here, you'll just go to the My Account section, Support, Search Guide, and then it will be in the bottom right option, FormDr Updates. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope everybody learned a thing or two, and hope to see you all again very soon.